Idle games are an odd concept. After all, the interactivity is the main thing I'd point to when differentiating games from other forms of media. But if you look at it that way, I guess it makes sense that eventually the question, what does a game that you don't play look like, would get asked. Hello world, my name is Atticus, and welcome to the joy of doing nothing. I'm most familiar with idle games via mobile ones, with an auto feature and also Final Fantasy XII. The mobile games usually feature a lot of grinding, and offer an auto button as a way to alleviate that. It still takes time, and it still keeps uptime on the app ticking, but you yourself don't have to beat the same 3 sets of mobs over and over. While the game handles the core gameplay itself, you build up the units and put the teams together, and you get this odd sense of satisfaction of seeing your guys overcome challenges. Is this parenting? Despite setting the game to play itself and then going off to do something else, there's still something strangely compelling about them, and I'd like to figure out what. The answer, of course, is brain chemistry, which despite having several years of lived experience, I'm far from being an expert in the topic. All the same, I shall do my best. Idle games operate similarly to a Skinner box, a very fancy chock full of anime Skinner box. For those of you like me who may have heard the term in passing, but it's been too long to ask, Skinner box refers to an experiment where behavioral psychologist B.F. Skinner put a rat in a box, and in that box was a lever. And if the rat pulled the lever, a food pellet would be deposited into the box. Once the rats learned that the lever would gift them food, they kept pulling the lever, even when it no longer became guaranteed that food would appear. The same principle applies to humans, but we don't even need food. It works with arbitrary and ultimately meaningless numbers. That's why when you start a gacha game, you're being rewarded left and right. They're trying to condition you to keep playing the game, keep seeking that reward, even when the game starts to slow down. And of course, offer microtransactions on the side so you can hit that high whenever your wallet allows. Or if you're a certain mobile game that has inexplicably offered me a sponsorship for that one time I streamed twice in 1 week, you offer those microtransactions very upfront and in the player's face all the time. Follow me on twitch.tv/, if you want to be notified for the rare erratic stream. Back to Skinner and his box. It's reminiscent of Pavlov and his dogs, but with a key difference. Pavlov modified the subconscious, training salivation to occur at the ringing of a bell rather than to food. Whereas Skinner aimed to train the consciousness of the rats, train them to decide on their own to pull the lever over and over. This idea became the core of operant conditioning, the trick gacha games and publishers all over use to keep people playing. You even see it in things like Call of Duty multiplayer and Fortnite, where newer players are matched against bots that suck at the game so that the human player can feel good about their ability to play the game, and then associate that good feeling with the game itself. Despite being aware of this for some time, even if I didn't know the name of the phenomena, the knowledge has done nothing to protect me. We are not immune to advertising. I still keenly feel the pull of microtransactions when the mobile game stops giving me the big numbers. It's why I've never touched Genshin Impact or any other MiHoYo title. I'm genuinely worried I'll enjoy the games too much to drop them after the initial rush, which is what I usually do for these kinds of games, with the 2 exceptions that have been playing on screen. Actual idle games, however, like the other 2 that have been playing, can be a fun and cozy experience, especially since they're not trying to nickel and dime me. I started playing these 2 games specifically for this video, and I found Plant Daddy surprisingly cozy, even if this is the mess it evolved into. And while not a game that's likely to top any non-idle game lists for me, I am genuinely quite impressed by how well Universal Paperclips fits into its niche. I do not think that game would be possible as anything but an idle game. Plant Daddy and Universal Paperclips both scratch the part of my brain that needs constant stimulation from at least two sources. This is usually accomplished by working on something or playing a game while a video plays on another screen, but I think the idle games do a superior job in different ways. You see, Plant Daddy is always going. Even if you close out of the tab, the timers keep ticking down so that the next time you open it, you've got a bunch of leaves and blossoms to collect. While, say, working on a script, I can keep my brain focused by checking in on the game whenever my attention starts to wander. After collecting all the resources and spending them on whatever, I have a bit of time before there's anything else to do, so I can go back to writing. Universal Paperclips only runs while the tab is open, so I can play it while watching something that I actually want to pay attention to, and not just use as background noise. Before starting on this script, the only experience I had with the topic were a few mobile games that'll auto-mode the grindy parts for you. And those games can be fun, especially since I prefer the growth aspect of RPGs much more than the gather resource part. But they're not a type of game I'd ever recommend because of that microtransaction type route so many of them have. Proper idle games with little to no gameplay and no microtransactions have proved a much more pleasant surprise. Joy might be a touch too strong, but there's definitely a contentment to them. And if you also have a loud and obnoxious brain, I would recommend checking them out. That's it for the video. I have been Atticus and thank you for participating here, but if you're interested, there's some channel update stuff as well. The main purpose of this video is twofold. Since the channel's inception, I've started out with a Joy video. I like to start the year on a positive note and remind myself why I enjoy this, or why someone else might enjoy their given genre. Maybe one day I'll do a Joy video for FPS games, who's to say. That said, though I can't be confident that this is a trend I'll continue. I simply don't really have any more ideas for this style of video. I struggled last year with the joy of choice, and this video is, I think, the shortest I've made. We'll see when I get to editing. Now, of course, there's a full year before the next one would come out, but the point of this PSA is that I'm going to try and be a bit less strict with my schedule. I like the idea of strict schedules, but I am quite bad at them. And I feel intensely bad when I fail to stick to one. Which brings us to the second reason I made this specific video. It's because I thought of a funny joke to use in the title. You may have noticed that there was a good 6-month stretch between the top 10 video in December and the last video released on this channel. I had been working on a triple triad guide in June and got to about the last day of the month feeling very dissatisfied with the project as a whole. It would have been fine enough to put out, I'm sure, but I had wanted to do more and better with it that I just hadn't been able to do in the time I gave myself to make the video. And once the one video a month streak was broken, I just didn't have any motivation to make anything. Top 10 videos are pretty easy to churn out, so I started with that and figured the joy of doing nothing would be a better space to say I had a pleasant vacation where I only worried about my actual job and played Baldur's Gate 3. Going forward, I will try to stick to my original schedule of one video a month, including but not limited to a history video on March 15th, a math video on Halloween, and a best of the year list on New Year's Eve. We'll get more into this on the Ides, but the March video might not be Caesar specific, starting 2025. There are only so many stories to tell about the guy. I'm definitely not scraping the bottom of the barrel, but the last video I ever release will be a comprehensive video about the Ides of March, the historical event as well as its representations in media, and I just want to make sure I have plenty of runway. This is not a strict schedule, however, more like guidelines, so if I fail to release a video by the end of the month, I don't feel so bad that I don't make another one for 6 months. Additionally, while there aren't a lot of them, I am trying to stream a bit over on Twitch, and if you've made it this far, you might be interested in the link. It's PRJCT Mud. That's it for updates. Next week, we're kickstarting a series that I've had planned since before I began with Sequelitis: The Talos Principle 2. I have been Atticus, and thank you for participating.